I want to just finish off very, very quickly with just showing you what some typical training sessions look like when you put them in WKO. So I've got a few sessions that I've done, and we've already seen what a Burgomaster looks like. So if you return a Burgomaster session after 8, you can see the kind of profile you get. Obviously got all these linked files, so I can compare across those. Look at one of these in particular. Look at the, no, that's wrong. Look at that one. This doesn't seem to have. Let's look at the top one again. So SRM. Let's look at the last one. See how tired I am. So they're peaking at 680 watts. Dropping down to probably 320. So that was my 8th repeat of the session. Now what we can obviously do is look at some kind of get an idea of how well I've coped with that. That was early on. That's my last block. Let's look how I coped in the first one of those I did, and I think you can see.
Guess what the time difference was. When was one done relative to that one session?
10 days.
Oh right.
So what was I, 680 peak?
Yeah.
First one was 540. So something has happened to me in a period of 10 days. Yeah. But actually, we look here at the average power of 450 watts. The average power is 420 watts. Okay, it's the last one in the set compared to the first one. But I think, and this is something that I explained to Juliet, I've got a higher peak power, and that's actually what we're after. It's not necessarily that the area under this curve is bigger for 30 seconds, it's the fact that the peak's higher and I'm fatiguing more rapidly. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking at your ability to recruit those fast twitch muscle fibres. That's what the training is trying to generate. They're accessing your anaerobic work capacity and recruiting them to get those powers higher. Another type of training I did, similar time of year actually. 16th of the 3rd. Bear with me. But, I can imagine I've got so many training.
Are you sure you've retired, Harry?
I'm not convinced.
3.5 hours.
Okay, 2 times 15 minutes, where I've gone 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off. If you hear me say Tabata, intervals,
Yeah.
this is what you get. Okay, let's look at one of these. This is a great session, I promise you.
It's really hard.
Stop it, Bryce. I've gone 10 seconds on, really hard. 10 seconds off, completely. 10 seconds on, really hard, off. And you can see I've repeated that for a 15-minute period. Now, the interesting thing about this session is, overall, it looks very, very similar to a kind of a zone 4, 25-mile race pace type session. Look at that heart rate. But actually what we've got is certainly not 25-mile race powers. If you think this would be my average for 25, I've kind of gone equal way above and below that. So we've got some very big neuromuscular, muscular stress. So I'm actually increasing my ability to again recruit those fast twitch fibres, but cardiovascularly I'm getting a zone 4 workout. So a great session for increasing your ability to flush out the lactic acid from the muscular system by these extremes in power output. So that's again just a nice example of a session. Last thing I want to show you is so far we talked about kind of like the ability to endure stuff, and I talked about that fatigue of power and heart rate relationship. This was a very strange block I did, starting on Monday 10th of March. You can probably see from what's coming up, I do 3 rides of zone 3 back to back. But I just want to show you something else that we can look for. 3 hours, huge amount of training stress scores I developed there in 3 hours, 220 watts, sitting on a turbo because the weather was foul, and I've averaged 200 watts, right bang in the middle of my zone 3. Look at this. Power heart rate. No change. I've coped. This shows how good my endurance was at the time. I had to get my endurance this good to cope with 3 hours in zone 3. It's the culmination of endurance training blocks. 3 hours zone 3, yet the heart rate does not drift up at all. Power sits at 200 watts.
3 cups of tea then.
Well, that's what I deserved. I should have had more than that. By contrast, God, it hurt. Yes, it did hurt. I still remember the pain now. And in theory, I should be getting fitter. But the short-term consequences of that fitness fatigue aspect we talked about, my power heart rate has gone up 4% in this ride. So I'm doing more training, yet I'm getting worse. No, it's just the third day of a very intensive block. So you can see here, I mean, almost from that point there, actually, heart rate is just, it's not massive. Remember, this is a 3-hour file, but you know, you can see I'm really starting to push down. You know, by this point, 2 hours in, I think I've got another hour to go yet, and it's getting harder and harder to. See, I'm a bit ambitious at the start here, but you can see it's incredibly hard. I don't know whether it showed up cadence-wise, but yeah, look. Do you know what I've had to do? I've had to drop my cadence in order for me to get through the session. Terrible, but I admitted it. So I think it shows you that Training Peak software not only shows you the ability to track training, but also to track fatigue, both long-term with the performance management chart, but looking at this kind of data over very specific training blocks. So,